The week before graduation from undergrad, I disclosed to my parents that I was not going to law school and I had already withdrawn my application, so there's nothing they could say, and I was going to go dance.
The Who Do You Think You Are podcast is sponsored by Good Trip Inc. It's a super dope gallery with a super dope artist that owns it. Black owned, 416 South McDowell Street, downtown Raleigh. Y'all come through, check him out. Tell him that SP the Writer sent you.
Christopher F., owner of Good Trip Tattoo and Art. My passion is creating art, and there's no better feeling than seeing a happy client.
So we're here for another episode of the Who Do You Think You Are podcast with SP. And obviously, y'all already know, I am just a poet. I am just a silent poet at that. And so everybody wants to know, who do you think you are?
A star. That's a simple answer. No, that is the answer.
That is the answer.
I'm pretty freaking awesome.
What makes you, so first of all, you're a star. Tell the world who may not know what your name is.
Okay, my name is Raven Nicole, and I am a celebrity choreographer, dancer. I'm also moving into the counseling realm. I'm studying for the board right now,
okay.
So that's a lot.
Right.
But I pretty much do everything that I set my mind to. My brother, he's like, you just point and you shoot and you land every time, and I'm like,
point,
hey,
shoot, land.
That's when you're a star.
That's a bar though.
Yeah.
Point, shoot, land. Because
Every
a
time.
lot of people, I have conversations all the time, about what to do, how to start, when to do, like
Just
point,
do it.
point, shoot, land.
Yeah, just go. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You fail or learn,
Right.
Fail forward. Just
So
do it.
so you started out and said you're a star.
Yeah.
I agree. but in those things that you've named, and you can pick one or you can pick all. I mean, we got some time. What makes Raven a star?
I think me saying a star is more aligned with my character, my person, who I've always been. I had a mentor, two mentors, and they were like, there's a light in you. Like, even before I was born, my mom, she found out she was pregnant with me on Halloween, and she was like, you were kicking and moving in there, and they were
Wow.
like, you're older than, they thought that I was older than what she was saying, but no, I was already dancing. Like, this is my
Wow.
purpose. Like, this is who I am, and I just happened to be able to transform my purpose to impact people's lives in a positive way. So I am legit that star that you see, and you point towards it and you go for it.
Right. So you were dancing, because I was going to ask you how long you've been dancing, but you've been dancing since you were in your mother's
All my life.
womb.
I was named after the first African-American dancer to be signed to a major ballet company, Raven Wilkinson.
Wilkinson?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to have to go research Raven Wilkinson.
She ended up being my mentor before she passed away in 2018. She played like a auntie grandma role because I lost my grandma pretty early on, but she gave me the keys, like, this is what you should do, you should move this way, and every time that I wanted to do something, I had her as a huge level of inspiration and encouragement.
So you're named after
Greatness.
Right, named after greatness. And then how did you wind up getting in contact with her for her to then become your mentor? Because who gets named after somebody and then that person becomes their mentor?
So I promise I'm not a stalker. I'm not crazy. But
Okay, so that
so
means you
put,
are.
No, you put things into the atmosphere and you believe that you can manifest them. And so for years, I was putting out there on like Twitter, on every social media site, like mainly Twitter and Facebook, because Instagram wasn't like really out then. But I would be like, I just want to meet her and tell her how much she inspires me. And I would put it out consistently, like every other month I'd be like, I was named after this woman and she's inspired so much of what I do. I just want to meet her. Like, I really want to meet Mae Jemison too. Like, I thought they were the most amazing examples of women. And then one day, this lady out of the blue hit me up and she was like, Raven's my neighbor. Do you want to talk to her? And I was like,
Wow.
You're lying, whatever. And so she just says, like, I'm going to DM you. Please answer my DM, okay?
Right.
Like, you know, video conferencing.
Yeah.
I was like, this lady is tripping. But sure enough, she called me with Miss Raven. And from that conversation, which I thought was going to be just a quick, hey, we stayed on the phone for 3 hours, our first conversation.
Wow.
And then it turned into, like, weekly, like every Sunday we were talking about something about life. I'm giving her recipes and she's giving me recipes. She's also telling me, you know, different stories about when she was with the ballet repertoire in Amsterdam and Paris and everything. And it's just, I don't know, it was one of those things I was like, dang, I really manifested this type of interaction because I had also said I want a mentor.
Right.
At that point, I was just dancing just to dance, but with very little direction.
Right.
I wanted a mentor, a strong mentor. What better mentor can you have than
Right.
a pioneer?
The first.
Right.
That you're named after.
Right. Like, it was insane.
That's crazy. How old were you when you met her?
I had just gotten out of college. So about 22.
Okay, and where'd you go to college at?
UNC Chapel Hill. I'm a Tar Heel.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you graduated high school in what year?
2008.
So you're further behind me than I thought. Because for the audience,
Oh.
we grew up in the same area, went to the same high school.
Yeah.
I'm senior. Go Trojans.
Yeah.
So you were 08. So you were, because I don't know why I thought you and my brother graduated together. He was
2
05.
years? Okay, 3.
Yeah, so
okay.
3 years. Okay, so you were in like 5th grade when
Back
I graduated.
then, man.
Gotcha. All right.
I wasn't even in North Carolina at that point when you were. I lived in California before I moved here.
Okay, let's back up. So were you born in Cali?
No.
Where were you born?
This is a funny story. My mom's water broke as she was traveling. I was supposed to be born in Germany. I'm a preemie, or I was born a preemie.
Gotcha.
But I was technically born in North Carolina, and then we moved to Texas right after. So, and then I
Okay.
bounced around and finally found a landing space in high school.
Got you. So what part of Cali
middle
were you in?
LA, Sacramento mostly. I lived in Sacramento longer than I lived in LA.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I really got into like professionally dancing and seeing that it could be a career, even though it wasn't like encouraged. My mom, she wanted me to be a doctor, but I have a fear of blood, so
That won't work.
That's not gonna happen. Like,
Right.
no. And then all of my family, with the exception of me, they're all military. So
Okay.
those were the two paths that I thought I was taking.
Right.
And when I was in Sacramento, I got the opportunity to be one of the junior dancers on the Kings, Sacramento Kings, before they shifted.
And how old were you then?
I was, probably like, I was a preteen. So from 8 or 9 until about 12.
So you started like professionally dancing like super early.
Yeah.
See, I know you from, well, I know you as far as your dancing stuff with seeing you first with Ginuwine and on tour with him. And so I was thinking, oh, okay, yeah, little Raven started dancing and now she out here with Ginuwine. But no, like you've been
There's
dancing
a background.
since a kid.
Yeah.
For real.
I just, like I said, I never took it seriously and I never moved with as much intention or direction because, I mean, my family, they're very regimented. Like I
Right.
said, everyone's military on both sides. So it was almost discouraged for a long time. Like, yeah, you could do dance classes, but you're not supposed to, like,
Right.
really do this. You need to find a career. And I'm like, this is a career, guys.
Right. So when did they come around to the idea of you understanding that you already knew what you wanted to do and how you wanted to do it?
The week before graduation from undergrad, I disclosed to my parents that I was not going to law school, and I had already withdrawn my application, so there's nothing they could say, and I was going to go dance. I got told off. So we wasted all this money, blah, blah, blah. And then
Wow.
it turned into a conversation of, I need y'all to hear me. I'm not happy.
Right.
Like, this will never bring me the success that you're thinking it will, because I'm not happy. So I'll never devote my time, my passion, anything into it. Like, it doesn't bring those chills or excitement. I just was about to go to law school just to have a career.
Right.
But I'm like, no, there's more to me than this, and I never even wanted to do this. Why am I going in this direction? You're really going to be spending money and wasting it if I go in this direction.
Right.
Like,
Because you're going to stop or you're not going to be fulfilled anyway.
I was going to quit.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I was definitely going to quit. As soon as I seen the blood, it was a wrap.
We're done. We're done. Like, I got tired of following everyone else's path. And like I said, I have a brother who, my big brother, he encourages me to do whatever. That's
Right.
the one who's like, you know, point, shoot, land.
Right.
He's like, whatever you do, you've been successful at it. I admire you. And I'm like, this is coming from my big brother. This is huge. And he was like, go do it. I don't care what anyone says, and don't you stop. I was
Right.
like, but what happens if I fail? Okay, you fail. You still have me who's going to support you in your next endeavor.
And
Keep
that's all
going.
you needed.
And I was like, oh,
Like, right.
y'all can't tell me nothing at this
Two-step.
point. Yeah.
So how was that internally, knowing that your parents, especially once you got older, you know, and got into college, and they're paying for college, and they're expecting you to go along on this path, like, how was that internally for you during that 4 years or 3 years, however long you were at school, knowing that I need to tell my parents this because I need to move at my own pace on my own path?
I've always been very independent-minded. Like,
Okay.
I'm going to go follow my path regardless. Like, yes, I consider other people, but at the end of the day, I want to move in a way that makes me happy.
Right.
Because, I mean, your parents did that. Like,
Yeah.
even though it wasn't maybe as great or, you know, whatever they wanted from it, they did the things that made them happy. So this is my opportunity to live the life that I want, or create the life that I want. Internally, it was a struggle. I can't even lie there, because I struggled with identity. Like, can I do this?
Right.
And, you know, imposter syndrome is really real. Like, you've done it before. You've already danced professionally. Why can't you do it? Like, and I talked myself out of it. This isn't a career. This can't get me anywhere. What's the max? Like, and then dancers only last for about, you know, a few years after my 20s. What am I going to do? And I'm like, no, just do it. Because at
Right.
the end of the day, I want, should I choose to have kids, or, you know, if they have kids themselves, like, I want to have a story to tell that's not just, I worked.
Legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a legacy of purpose and fulfilling desires. Like, depending on what you believe in, you have this one life.
Right.
Right. So what are you going to do with it? Like my brother, he calls it the dash date. You have the day you're born, you have the day you die. What are you doing on your dash days?
Right.
I want my dash days to be lit. Like, my dash days are going to have story after story after story. Like, no stone left unturned with my passion.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because, you know, obviously we know each other, you know, to a certain degree, but all over your social media, you're having fun all the time. And, you know, sometimes you never really know someone's inner workings and
Right.
what's going on behind the scenes, but you also can tell when someone's genuinely loving their life.
I genuinely love the life that I live. Like, I get to wake up, I have the opportunity to wake up and just do things that fill me with joy. And every day isn't always a good day. I'm
Right.
not gonna sit here and be like a false positive person.
Right.
Like, yeah, I have my bad days too, but at the end of the day, I know that I am feeding my spirit. Like, while I'm here, I am feeding my spirit. And because of that, like I said, that's the star. That's that
Yeah.
aura, that glow, that brightness, that happiness that you see in me is like legitimately me taking care of who I am, feeding my inner child, making sure she's straight.
Right. Has that glow always been there, or It has.
And
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you have your moments where you question your own glow, and
Yeah.
and sometimes it gets a little dim, you know, but that's okay. You have to keep pushing and realize that, you know, I'm purposed for something greater, something more than I even understand right now. What is it? Let me go find it. And
Right.
you can't find it by just living this. I tell my friends all the time, I live a big life. And I'm not saying like I'm better than anyone. No, I live the big life that I want. Everything that I want to do, I go and do it. Whether, like I say, you fail for it or whatever that may be, at least I can say I did it. At least I
Right.
can say I tried, and I'm not like, I talked myself out of it, so I never got that opportunity. Dang, I wish I had done that.
Right. Regret, right?
I don't
you don't
do
want to
regret.
Yeah. I think I wrote a line that said, regret is, you know, I don't remember my poetry, but but it was something along the lines of like, regret are those things that we didn't do sitting inside of us crying quietly.
Yes. I don't want my inner child to cry. Like, I know what it feels like to physically cry. I
Right.
don't want to put, and I'd say her like she's a separate person. That is in me. But
Right.
I don't want my inner child to experience the dim moments. I want to give her all of the nourishment, all of the love that she requires and she desires, so that I can continue to give
Right.
and glow, and not just, like I said, no false positivity, but I want to be able to pour into myself so I can pour into others.
Right.
Because if I'm not making myself happy and dedicating, you know, that same love to myself, how can I go into counseling and say, yeah, I understand what you're, no, I can't.
No, I don't
like, there's no
understand.
empathy
Right.
there because I haven't done it for myself.
Got you. So you went to Chapel Hill. How was that experience? Because I've talked to and heard a lot of, especially poets, talk about their experience as a black person at a predominantly white institution. How was your experience at UNC? Like, up and
mean,
down, kind of over.
I had some great experiences. I will never take that away. Got a great education, of course.
Right.
No fake classes, you know it.
Right. Right. But can't.
But yeah, I had a great experience. I met some friends that I'll take with me forever, like no doubt about it.
Right.
And I found myself there. I found like who I am, what I love, like my passion. I found my career there.
Yeah.
So that I will always credit to them and thank them for. But being a black woman on campus, you experience so many microaggressions. Like I remember distinctly sitting in class, and I was the only black person in my group. And of course, you hear all the time that women, they'll say something and then a man says it, and it's
Mansplaining.
and you get so frustrated. But then I wasn't only hearing the mansplaining part of it. My ideas, my thoughts are being diminished by the females in my group that, you know, I'm thinking, hey, like, and we're in sociology classes, so I would think they'd have more understanding, but they couldn't resonate with my experience as a black woman, so they would try to quiet me, and I'm like, as soon as I spoke up for myself, I speak up.
Right.
So as soon as I speak up for myself, it's like they kind of feed into that, oh, she's just, you know how
Yeah.
they do. I'm not even trying to, you know.
No, I understand.
But like the angry black woman narrative is what they would feed into.
Right.
And I'm like, no, that's not me.
No, I'm just
angry?
explaining to
No,
you.
no, I'm not. I am assertive.
Right.
You're confusing my assertiveness with anger. That's
Right.
your fault. Like, and I had to explain that over and over again, and you get tired of explaining.
Yeah.
So that part, I will say, it frustrated me. But the black community, how we supported each other, I think that's one thing that's not talked about a lot when
I
that
agree.
HBCU versus PWI conversation comes up. I'm like, well, when you find your circle, you find your circle.
Your circle,
and
yeah.
we support each other. I don't know everyone on campus. I don't know everyone that I graduated with, but when I came around somebody that looked like me, oh no, I'm going to support you. I'm going to go to your events. I'm going to,
Yeah.
you know, and I felt the same type of support, you know, so that's a different conversation, a long conversation for another day when people would come at, I remember one girl, I'm friends with her, and she put up a status around the time where, you know, politics was
The topic.
yes. And she was like, I didn't have to delete any of my college friends for what they're saying. And I'm like, awkward. I didn't either. And she went to a HBCU, so she was saying that. And I'm like,
Me either. Right.
and she was like, I don't understand why you got so offended. I was like, no, I'm just letting you know that
Yeah.
me neither.
Right.
Like, they're not all bad.
Right. Because you choose your friends.
You choose your friends. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I bring out, you know, the good in people and they bring out the good in me. That's what I put out there, so that's what I get. Why would you think that I...
Right. Because you can curate your life.
Yes.
And just because you went to a non-HBCU and someone else did doesn't mean that your life or circle around you is any different than someone else's.
Right. And then there's that complex where, well, you went to this school, you think you're better than... I went to UNC for one reason. I knew I was going there from the time, and that's another thing my brother with the point shoot land. I knew that I was going to UNC in the 5th grade. That's
Okay.
the only school I applied to.
And so why?
Because I wanted to be like Mia Hamm. I wanted to be...
Okay, Mia Hamm.
I wanted to be a soccer player. Like,
So did you play soccer at UNC?
not at UNC. Nope. I
Did
had
you try
got out of soccer training when I moved to North Carolina, so that
Gotcha.
kind of died. And I mean, the passion was still there. I still loved to watch soccer,
Right.
but it just wasn't there.
So you moved from Cali at what age? Ish.
I remember being in middle school, so because I started like 7th grade here.
Okay.
I mean, I think.
Right. So what made you still want to go to UNC, even though the reason you wanted to go to UNC kind of was like, probably not gonna be.
My heart was set on it. I knew it. Like, I painted my room Carolina blue when we moved into our house. Like,
Right.
that was just it.
That
for
was
me.
just
That's
it.
it. And you know, my mom even then, she was like, "You don't want to go to Spelman?" She went to A&T, so
Okay.
she was like, "You don't want to go to Spelman? I want to Spelman and a Morehouse, man. Now I'm gonna go in the direction that I said."
Right. Like
I
that.
love you.
And that's that. So did you major in dance at UNC?
They actually don't have a dance major, but I worked with the committee and it's still not approved yet, but we were working the Carolina Dance Initiative
Right.
to get a minor there, but they don't have they have so many dance organizations that you would think
Right.
there's a dance major and dance minor, but there's not.
So what did you major in?
Psychology and sociology I did dual degrees.
Okay.
With a concentration in law and a minor in cognitive science.
Got you. So that's why the parents were like, okay, we got her. She's
there.
on the right path. Got
Surprise!
Right. Okay, so you majored in all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of spills into the mental health portion
Yeah.
of your life as well.
Kind of, yeah.
Right, that
yeah.
you're kind of tapping into at this point. So how did that kind of really resonate and kind of start getting pushed to the top a little?
So I was diagnosed with, depression and anxiety early on, probably around either 14 or 15,
Okay.
where it got really, really bad. And then as I got older, bipolar disorder started presenting itself.
Okay.
So I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I realized that, I can affect a lot of lives through my story. That it's almost more impactful for someone with a mental illness to see someone else with a mental illness not letting it defeat them.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I live a full life.
Yeah.
You can too, even with whatever you have.
Right.
So my thought process was to use myself as an example for others and heal holistically through, arts therapy, dance therapy, things like that. And then I was like, no, I can really do this. Maybe this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the career that I'm supposed to land on. And since then, my whole graduate experience, it's been smooth sailing. Like, I understand the content. I can resonate with it in my own life, but because I have such a passion to be what's needed, especially in a community like ours, it's super stigmatized. Like, you say the words mental illness and people are like, the first thing, and the reason why I'm so candid with my own diagnosis is because they act like it's a bad word. Like, it's not. It's okay. It's literally a chemical imbalance. It's not even that. The first time I said it out loud, I was like, everybody's going to think I'm crazy, and everybody's going to, disown me or judge me, or I'm going to be like shunned out of my friendship. Again, those friendships that I made at UNC were the ones that held me down in this, saying, it's okay. What do you need? Like, what does support look like for you? And they've been everything that I've asked for throughout this whole process of seeking licensure and going through board tests and things like that. Like,
it's crazy because it was talking about this on another episode, and I'm a little older than you, but for me, like, those words, never therapy, therapist, those things never came up, and so, like, I don't shun it now, but I've never had a therapist. I've never been in therapy. I know plenty of people who have, and I've talked to plenty of people who have. But it seems like the younger generation has kind of made everybody understand, in a sense,
just saying
and
it's
start
okay. Start the conversation.
Yeah, where it's been more okay for people to say, hey, I have an issue or a problem or something that I need help with, whether it's something that seems serious to them or does not seem serious to them.
Yeah, and that's what I think I can appreciate about the next generation. They're like, no, I'm taking control of this instead of, we know the stories about, generational trauma and things being passed down. Like, there is so much trauma that has been wrapped into our DNA, like our legit DNA.
Yeah.
How do we go about fixing this? Because I don't want to pass that type of trauma to my child, and my child will not pass that down to my grandchild. You know what I'm saying? Like, it stops here with me. How do we address it? How do we end that? It's not mental illness and mental health. It's not a taboo subject. We're not. No, it happens. And for many, I think the last statistic was like 1 in 5 people have been diagnosed, and the only reason why it's 1 in 5 is because a lot of people haven't.
So because it would probably be more like 3 in 5.
Yeah, it absolutely would be. I think everyone in this world, if you can look at me and say you haven't had a moment of depression or a moment of anxiety or something like that, like,
you're probably lying.
I won't believe you. Like, toxic positivity is real too.
Toxic positivity.
Yes. Like,
is that a thing, or did you just make that up?
No, it's a thing. I don't remember. It's not like a clinical thing, but I've seen it floating in different areas, and I'm like, no one can really explain it other than, you put on this facade like, I'm always happy, and life is just sprinkles and butterflies.
All the time, and it's not.
It can't be. It can't be because if you don't experience some type of struggle, what do you know? How do you know what success and joy feels like? And I'm not saying your life should be just hard and damning and everything like that. No, that's not the case at all. But if you've never experienced any type of pullback, or if you've never heard a no, you won't get excited about your yeses anymore. Like, I can appreciate my no's. Like, I kind of go against it. I fight it. But I can appreciate the no's and the rejections. Had I not been rejected in certain areas, I wouldn't have landed. I have the perfect thing. I went to an audition one time.
Okay, story time.
This is my first like real audition. Okay, I'm excited. And I got rejected. And the next day I got picked up for a tour.
Wow.
If I hadn't gotten that no, I would have been dancing for an artist that, and I'm not saying any names,
right.
but essentially is I won't say one hit wonder. That's rude, but
Their
I was-
career didn't go as
it didn't
far
go
as the other person's.
Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, and not shading them because they still chase their dreams, but it's one of those things like, had I let your no just define me and stay in that moment,
Right.
I would have never been on my first tour. I would have never, and because of that tour, that's how I ended up with Ginuwine, and then you
Right.
know, Tank and everybody else. Like that just it was like a
Serendipitous moment.
yes, it just
Yeah.
kept going, and I'm like, okay, all right, that no didn't define me. I'm
Right.
bigger than this. Okay.
So, and I was gonna bring up Ginuwine anyway, and Tank and all of them because they have been very big, very huge
Yeah.
in the culture of music
Yeah.
and in Black culture, period. And so, as you're out, you're doing your thing, you're on tours and this and that and other. How did you wind up becoming intertwined with Ginuwine and also Tank?
So that first tour that I was talking about, we had one show that we opened with him
Okay.
or opened for him, and he saw me on stage and he was like I never had to go through, after that point, I never had to do another audition. Like, I can.
Right.
That's cool or whatever, but I haven't had to audition for anything. But he saw me on stage. He sent his music director to come get me. And I'm not even going to lie. When he first did that, I thought, I mean, he's a sex symbol. So I'm like,
Right.
Like, no.
Like, you better go over there to
No,
shot
sir,
there.
you're not about to go do that to me. I'm sorry. Like,
Right.
no, ew. You're like, I look at him kind of, well, now I look at him like a dad figure, but even then my mom had a crush on him. Like my dad, my stepdad looks like a Ginuwine version. So
Wow.
you know what I'm saying? I was like, you're more like dad. I'm not doing that with you.
Right.
But I came backstage and he was like, do you have your resume and headshots? And I was like, yeah. He said, send them right now. And a lot of people aren't prepared. So that's why you stay. Who is it? Crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay ready so
Stay
you don't
ready
have to
so
get
you don't
ready.
have to get ready. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, sent. And he was like, all right, so do you have a reel? I have that too. Yep.
Right.
The service isn't as great, so it'll take a while to send, but yeah.
Right.
And he was like, dang, you're
On
it.
your shit.
And I was like, yeah, so what else do you need? And he was like, nothing. I saw what I needed to see. And I was like, okay, can I have a picture? Because I thought that was the end of it. I was like, all right.
Little did you know.
Yeah, like literally, I got home at probably like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got a message from his music director talking about, can you come to this audition? And I'm like, when is the audition? And he was like,
Tomorrow.
Like legit tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't have the money for this. I can't do this. I can't. And of course, I talked to my big brother, like, should I? He was like, I send you the money right now.
Right.
And he's always been like that.
So you had to fly to the audition somewhere? Okay. So where were you the night you met Ginuwine? He went backstage, and then where did you have to fly to for the audition?
I think we were in Louisiana.
Okay.
I think. And then I came back home to Raleigh.
Okay.
Thinking, all right, I can
Right.
come home and go to sleep. And the audition was in Kansas City.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I was like, how do I get there?
Right.
I don't know anything about this place. I don't know these people.
Right.
I don't have, and then I was really like freelancing. So it's like, I have to save my money. I don't know if I want to spend it on a
Yeah.
flight that I'm not even guaranteed to,
Right.
I mean, what is this? But by the time I flew back in, because I legit go, audition, bounce back. I didn't
Right.
stay or anything. By the time I got home, and I turned off my phone because I'm one of those.
You had a
that's like,
voicemail.
I'm scared. No, it wasn't even a voicemail.
Huh?
He had already posted on his Instagram, and I was like, why am I getting blown up? What are all these notifications? And you know, once you get like a certain number of likes or comments and stuff like that, it doesn't show you where it came from. So I'm
Right.
like,
Where is this coming
where are
from?
these likes and follows coming from? Like, this is crazy. Did somebody share like a picture of mine or
Right.
something? And then I looked at my tag pictures and I was like, oh, I have a job.
Wow.
So yeah, and then like, it wasn't even long after that, he, like I said, he really loved my preparation and being, ready on
Right.
go. He was like, do you choreograph? And yeah, I do.
Right.
Yeah, I do choreography. He was like, all right, cool. I got another call. All right, these are the next shows that we have. Can you be prepared for them? What do you need? I was like, dancers.
Right.
I wasn't ready for this. I didn't think this would come so soon. He was like, all right, hold an audition. So you're just letting me have my way with this? And
Yep.
he's like, I trust you.
Yeah.
And I have been his main choreographer since then, since 2016.
That's
And
crazy.
he has been able to introduce me to so many people in the industry
Right.
that I've worked with. Like, Tank was just the beginning of that, and then it went into, touring with Drew Hill, 112, Jagged Edge, Guy, and Teddy Riley. Like,
Wow.
it just kept going. I'm like, thank you
Right.
for seeing me and giving me this opportunity, but thank you for trusting me more than anything. That preparation and that okay, just shoot.
And that speaks volumes not only to them, which is why they even got to where they were and stayed there.
Yeah.
But it also speaks volumes about you making sure that you were prepared because
Always.
you had your mind made up. This is what I want to do. And you put it into the atmosphere, and you found Raven, both yourself and also your mentor, and then you were in the right place,
Right time.
at the right time, but you curated that. And a lot of people don't. I feel like a lot of people don't understand that they can curate.
Create the life that you want to live.
Yeah.
Like, you have absolute power, and it's about the energy you put out there, the words you put out there.
Right.
And of course your work ethic, but more than anything, it's about what you put out there.
Yeah.
Like, not even the physical products of anything that you would like to create. Like, you, the $1 Million Poet. Like, period. And I have no doubt that
It's a wrap.
you're gonna be the multi-million. You're gonna have to add
Right.
multi.
Right.
But you're
Change
gonna be
everything.
Please.
Yeah.
But you're gonna be the multi-million dollar poet because you put that out there. You put the work out there. And like I said, it varies from your physical work, but you've also shown I'm consistent. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep doing this. And I'm gonna keep pushing towards my dream. I don't care what you think of it.
Right.
Like, it's great that you have an opinion.
Right.
But at the end of the day, this is what I'm gonna do, and this is who I'm gonna be.
What do you say to somebody who has been trying to curate their life, right?
Keep going. Stay persistent. Oh, was that the end?
No,
of the
no,
question?
it wasn't. But that
Go
was
ahead,
that was
go
kind of
ahead.
it. Like, because there's some people that have been like, yo, I've been at this for, X amount of years, and I've been doing this, and I've been trying to work with this person, I've been trying to do this, and nothing that I've been doing is working.
Really, I think, like I said, keep going at it and stay persistent, but also be mindful. There's three things. You could be good at something, you could be purpose for something, or something could just, land in your lap and this is what you want to do. And don't just fall towards what you're good at. Okay, I like doing this, so this is what I want to do. What is your purpose and what are you passionate about? Because feed those and good things are going to come to you. Like, I knew that though I love to dance and I happen to be good at it, my passion is really in helping people. So I found myself even on tours being the
The mom.
guidance counselor, and even to like fans, when they would come up to me, they're like, oh my gosh, and like, just talking to you made me feel so good. And I'm like, maybe there's something bigger than just being on stage. Though I love being there, I'm good at it. But what am I purpose to do? What can I do? How can I be what's needed? That's the first thing. How can I be what's needed? I recognize the need in my community, especially being on tour more than anything showed me there's a need for mental health in this dance space. So that's
Right.
where I started with, like, all right, I want to learn about dance therapy. Not necessarily I want to get into mental health counseling. That wasn't even a thought for me until I realized we really need this. Like, you go on tours and people, they have their vices. Like,
Right.
it's what? Drugs, sex, rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's a real life thing. Like, I'm not saying anybody did drugs.
Right. But somebody did.
But
Right.
it's that life of just, you can get pulled and swayed in so many different directions before you even know it.
Right.
Like, and I've seen it, and it's sad. Like, there are artists who are dealing with so much, but because they live in the public eye, they never express it. Like,
Right.
they've lost their close friends and are isolated in different ways, being on tour, or can't manage a stable relationship because, there's insecurities there. And there's also their own insecurities because I have to be this perfect person. I have to portray this image. People look up to me. It's so many different pressures that they do slump into depression, but would you ever see it? And could they ever go to a counselor because their business will be on TMZ, Shade Room, or something like that?
Right.
So how can I be what's needed with what I have? And that's how it kind of moved into, I'm gonna go get licensed for this because there is a need, and I recognize that. Not only is the stigma in our community, but it's also in my arts community, and that's what I love to do. So
merge them together.
I merged them together, and that's just my story. But really start thinking about how can I fulfill my purpose more than how can I get this money or how can I get this title. Like, no, what is your purpose? Deep down, when you go to sleep at night, what do you start thinking of? Feed that fire, like add the gas, like add on your own gas. Feed that fire. And I mean, some things may not go as planned, or it's not happening as quickly.
It's not going to go a straight line.
No, straight lines are boring anyway.
Right.
Like, what car commercial do you see they're going in a straight line?
None, ever. They got to bend the curve.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They got to get that close-up shot on the wheels.
So why would you want to go straight? There's no excitement there. Like, take the curves.
Right.
Understand that this is just how, life's roads are. Like, you have to go through all of that, or else you won't appreciate. When you get to that spot, if it was all good, you'll never appreciate that you went through with this. And you can't even say, I worked and I did this and I'm stronger because of it. That sounds bad, but like, really, realistically, who wants something just handed to them all the time?
Some people do.
That entitlement is... Listen.
Some people do, and and I've been trying to understand that mindset.
Yeah.
Not enough to where I adopt it, but just trying to understand it enough so that I can then kind of either speak to that person in a certain kind of way to help them along where I think they may need help, or just to be able to have a conversation with them. Because if you don't, sometimes if you don't understand somebody, there's no conversation.
There's no conversation.
At all. And so I had someone recently that asked me, that was like, yo, if you could have a choice, there's 2 doors. And you could, door A, you go through the process and you figure out all this stuff, and you may or may not get to the $1 Million Poet. Or you could wake up and go through door B, and everything was there. $1 Million Poet, you got arenas that are, filled, poetry show, but you didn't know how you got there. Which would you choose? And I'm like, door A.
You don't have a story in door B.
There's no story.
No memory.
How am I going to keep it if I don't know how I got it?
You don't know how you got it.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm always interested in how people think about their own lives and what they want and what they are willing to go through to get it.
Do you really want it if you're not willing to go through the no's, the curves? Like, do you? Like, do you have the fight for it at that point?
And I'm with you. I'm just also, I'm always playing devil's advocate, and I'm on the other side wondering, like, because I know some people that don't want to go through it, but I feel like they want it. But I'm like, but do they really want it?
Do you? My brother, he asks me that all the time, like, how bad do you want it? You gonna go through some stuff when you really want it. I mean, that's just, I use Beyonce a lot.
Okay.
Everything wasn't easy.
No.
She got no's.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen the Star Search. She lost. Like,
right.
We've seen
Look, we
all
have
of that.
the one thing that we can point to that Beyonce, definitely.
She's Beyonce now.
She's Beyonce.
Like, almost like a mythical creature. She is.
People literally
Beyonce.
call Jay-Z Beyonce's husband.
Yes.
Which is mind-boggling to me.
Because I'm like, that's Jay-Z.
That's Jay-Z, right?
Because personally, I don't think Beyonce would be Beyonce if she had not been with Jay-Z. I feel like, now, hear me out. It's just like any partnership, like how they say,
I got you.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be the SP that I am without Crystal.
Boom.
And
That push.
I love Crystal, but Crystal also wouldn't be the Crystal that she is
Yeah.
without SP. Because
Absolutely.
when we merged, it was a
Absolutely.
thing. And not to compare us to Jay-Z and Beyonce for
No,
any
I
of the
mean,
beehive that's out there.
No,
But-
I'm not. That was not shade. 'Cause
Right.
I love B.
Right.
But without, and same with Jay-Z, like, yes, he's a mogul,
But yeah,
I
B
mean, Upgrade
put,
You was a real song.
that's a real song.
That's a real song.
Right.
So-
It makes complete sense. Man, okay. So college, you went into touring, you got hooked up with, not hooked up with, but you you were on tour and you've been, Ginuwine's choreographer since then, 2016.
2016.
2016, you worked with numerous amount of artists. And so, how old are you now? Ish.
21 plus. What
Okay,
you got
20,
to say?
21 plus. Got you. Look, me and this lady do. God, I cannot remember her social media handle right now, but she's in Cali and she does a lot of motivational speaking and things of that nature. We've been connected online for a while, and she had posted 5 things you don't ask a woman. And I was like, yo, I asked 4 of them on a regular basis, and that was one of them. And I've never, so.
No, I'm kidding. I love my age. I'm 31. I just turned
Okay.
31 last month.
Okay. What was the date?
April 13th.
Okay, Corey's the 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that is a thing for some women.
Here's the thing with my big old age. Like, I made it to 31. I mean, it's said in our community, especially for black men, I celebrate every age.
Right.
Because I made it here. And I know
Right.
people who didn't. I have friends that didn't.
Yeah.
No, I learned so many things, and honestly, my 30s so far, they have been filled with so much like fire and assertiveness, and I'm finding myself, and I'm speaking out against things that I don't like, and
Right.
not doing the things that don't serve me. Like I love it here in 30 land. Like it's just been
She's like, I'm in my bag at 30 right now.
for real, like 30 was a shift. Like, ooh, I like this woman. That's when I really started feeling like, oh, I'm a woman.
Right.
You can't tell me what to do. I mean, you could give me advice, but this is my life. What you thought?
And a lot of people think 30 is like,
Oh, woe is me.
Right.
Yeah.
because I never really thought about age other
Yeah.
than when dating somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And coming up to 30, like, oh, and because I play basketball heavy, and they're like, oh, your knees gonna start cracking when you turn 30, and
That's what I heard.
and I turned 30, and yeah, my knee pops, but
my knee
I'm
was
good.
popping before.
Right.
Like,
But
maybe not as frequently.
I didn't feel different at
Yeah.
30 or 31 or 35. I didn't, like, even now, I still feel young. Both mostly physically, but also just internally and mentally. I feel like I'm 28 years old.
Yeah, like I just happen to have a more mature mindset.
Right.
Like that's the thing that that's what shifted. That's
Yeah.
it. I learned, what to do, what not to do for myself and for others.
Right.
Like how to talk to people. Yes, I knew how to talk to people before, but how to be mindful when I do talk to people. Like
Right.
it was really a mentality shift more than anything. And that whole, I get what you're saying with the, you can't play basketball. Because of course I heard it as a dancer. Like,
Right.
this gonna start hurting. You can't do that anymore, child.
And then did it.
Look, my knee's stronger than Megan, so don't play. Like, that's the thing that I'm like,
Shout
no,
out
you're
Megan
not
Thee
gonna.
Stallion.
So this is not a thing. I'll retire from dance when I want to. It's not gonna be you
Right.
push me out, especially since my mentor, Miss Raven, she taught up until she was in her 70s.
Okay.
So if someone who's mentoring me is dancing
Right.
until they're 70, don't tell me that. Don't give me that.
Right.
You just fed me some.
It's funny that you say that because I remember being at Campbell University, and I remember they had a senior citizens basketball game, and it was on a Saturday, and a bunch of senior citizens came in. I'm talking about 60s, 70s. I think there was one person there was like 82, and they were playing full court basketball, and I remember thinking like, yo, I can hoop forever.
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 Until you decide, I
Right.
don't want to do this anymore.
And I mean, of course, they weren't going, LeBron James speed, but they were going
They
their
were still
speed, and
going.
everybody on the court
Yeah.
was in the same realm.
My I've been saying this since I was a child. Who's going to tell me no?
Who's gonna tell me no?
And I say this a lot. Did I tell you I'm writing a book? I did tell you that.
You did tell me you were writing a book.
So one of the chapters is actually, or not chapters, a section in the chapter is about living like a 2-year-old. They don't understand the concept of no. Like, they don't. And that's what's beautiful about them, because they keep going. They're super persistent. They fall down, what do? Get back up and try to get in some more stuff. Like, be as persistent as a 2-year-old and have the curiosity. Like, be curious about your life and life in general. They're always into something.
Yeah.
You should always be into, and I'm not saying like go start some trouble.
Right.
Don't be a 2-year-old in that regard, but always be into something, always be engaged, be willing to learn, like have that same curiosity and that willingness to keep going through.
Right.
2-year-olds really, they have that thing down. You can learn so much from watching them and like toddlers. Like, I never thought I'd say that because I'm like, why are you doing that? But it's because they're genuinely curious.
Yeah.
They want to know more. They want to learn
They're
more.
trying to figure out
What is this world?
and what's happening around them and what more they can be.
And you have 30-plus-year-olds asking, what is this world still? So feed that inner child. Get into that curiosity. And like I said, have the persistence. What does no mean? Like, I used to say that all the time. What does no mean? And my mom, she was like, you don't comprehend that word. Sure don't. Next. Moving right along.
Tell me a point, because you just said, what does no mean? Tell me a point where you got to a no and it almost got to you.
I got to a no this week.
She's like, in recent history.
Like 2 days ago. This is actually still going on. So like I said, I'm studying for a board exam.
Okay.
And I am supposed to take it, because there is no was. I am supposed to take it in October, and I had the dean of schools reach out to me and say, no, you can't test because I didn't include you on my roster. Honey, I have a 4.0 or had a 4.0 GPA. There's no reason why I should have been left off your roster.
Right.
So the no hurt, because I'm like, you really have, or you think you have the final say.
Right.
And I cried for a day. I was like, I don't know what to do or how to go around this. So I started doing some research.
Okay.
And the actual counseling board is in Greensboro. I did not understand no. So now I'm going to call you guys, and if I can't talk to you, then I'll come visit.
Right, because you're right up the road.
I won't accept that. You could have been across the country at this point. I'm taking my test in October.
Right.
Because I want to be licensed, because I know that what I have to offer is good for the community. Not because I want another accolade,
Right.
but I have work to do.
Yeah.
And your no is stopping me from doing that work. So I need you to move aside, because I have a yes to go get.
Right.
And so I wrote the board, and I called them, and they were like, oh, okay, we're going to look into this. We're going to investigate.
Right.
So, dean of students.
And so then that becomes another stamp, if you will, of, hey, you don't have to accept no.
I'm not accepting that. Like,
Yeah.
there's some no's, fire's hot.
Right.
No, don't do that. I can accept that, but you putting me into this box and telling me what I can and cannot do with this big, bold life of mine, I don't accept it. I really just don't.
Right.
Like I said, my mom has asked me from the time I was a child, do you understand the concept of no? Not quite.
Not quite. Can't even say no. Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite. That's major, and I'm hoping that people that watch this, that are looking for a reason to say yes to themselves, or looking for a reason to venture beyond their borders.
Say yes to yourself.
Yeah.
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 That's good. Just that part. That's it.
I had to learn that personally.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in my bubble, and I was fine with my bubble. But then learning to say, you know what, like, yeah, you put that on the back burner for 8 years, but say yeah. Like,
What's the worst that can happen to saying yes to yourself?
right.
You fulfilled something in you.
Right.
And that's the thing. I always say fail forward. There's a learning experience, but you never quite fail. You
Right.
never, I don't care what anyone says. I don't believe that you can fail in anything.
Unless you just stop.
Just stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There was a book. I didn't read all of it.
Okay.
What's the lady's name that writes everything? Shonda Rhimes.
Okay, yeah.
The Year of Yes.
Yes.
And she talked about how for an entire year,
Yes.
she just said yes to almost everything because she always used to say no.
Yeah.
And you know how that opened up so many opportunities for her.
I read some of that book.
Right. I love books, but I don't take the time to sit with books anymore.
I get distracted really easily. Like I'm reading this book right now. It's called The Girl with the Louding Voice, and it's really good.
It's a dope title.
It's really good. It's about I'm gonna go on a tangent.
Nah, you good. Let's go.
It's about a girl. She's in Africa, and her mother died. And after her mom died, her parents didn't want to invest in her education. They married her off to a man who was abusive, so she ran away.
Wow.
Because he had 3 wives, and one of the wives died, whatever. But she ran away. She ended up finding this man who helped her to become like a housekeeper in a house, but the lady who owned the house had a lot of money, but she was really mean and abusive too.
Right.
But one of the ladies that was in her circle, she was an educator.
Okay.
And all the little girl wanted to do, I call her a little girl, but she's in her teens, whatever. She wanted to get an education. She said, you know, there's more for me. I used to teach the village children when I could go to school. I want to teach. And of course, in that culture, they're like, well, what if you don't marry? You don't have kids? She's like, well, at least I'll know that I've impacted some kids. Like, it's really a beautiful message. And I'm like, right at the end, I have like maybe 30 pages.
So you gotta finish it, then.
Yeah. But then I got distracted and started reading another book, and I'm like, girl,
This
you
one's
were
good
this
too.
close. I don't finish books necessarily, but I'm
Right.
always reading.
Got you.
It's bad.
And I'm a reader too. I got into reading magazines super heavy for a while because I read a lot of business magazines.
That makes sense.
And so, you know, Entrepreneur, Wired, all those, you know, Inc., Forbes, all that stuff I was reading. And I was like, well, am I still supposed to be like reading books or just reading, period? Okay.
I think reading.
Yeah, me too. But at a certain point, like maybe my mid-20s, it was being pushed like you got to read books. But I'm like, yo, if I'm reading and I'm getting information that I'm then using, it's okay.
Right.
And so now I don't find myself reading as much as I know I should. And so I've been trying to kind of get my life back into a balance where I'm okay with taking that time to do so. Yeah. But then sometimes I look at it like, yo, like the things that I'm doing in my life, I'm reading the world. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest concept that people miss. Like, it doesn't have to be a physical book. Yeah. By you even writing poetry, that's still, you know, literary work that you're reading. And though you don't, you know, recite your
Right. At all, ever, never.
It is still you giving this gift of literature to the world. So what would be the difference?
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel you. It makes me feel better too.
No, but really, like, I read your poems, so
I appreciate
you're
it.
still putting it out there. I think that's
Yeah.
great. I mean, I'm not shading any writers or anything like that, but when they're writing, how often do they get the opportunity to read another book? They're probably focused on the work that they're doing. So
That's exactly what happens. Because I've supported a lot of poets and purchasing their books in the last 3 years, and I may have finished maybe 2, and I've started a couple other ones, but then you don't want to taint your own process of writing and words with someone else's, and so then because you're stuck in that, well, I'm always writing, and then you're like, I'm gonna get to it later because I don't really, and so yeah, it's definitely been a thing and a battle for me because I know that if I buy, you know, X poet's book, they probably want me to read it. They're happy they have the money, but because I am a writer as well, they probably want me to read it. So I'm like, man. Yeah, so then I'm thinking like, well, maybe one day I'll, you know, I turn 80 years old, I'll just sit
back
and read all the books that I've bought over my lifetime.
I feel like that's dope too.
Yeah.
I hate that, you know, society pressures people in general
Right.
to move a certain way, and if you're not moving that way, you're not moving at all. Like, no, you're putting literary works out there.
Yeah.
That's the same as reading because you're still using context. You're
Yeah.
still engaging with audiences. I mean, and you're still keeping your mind sharp by writing. So
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't agree with that part. But it's also like those people who are like, you gotta have a passport. You need to be on trips. Catch flights, not feelings. Girl, catch both. Like
Right.
like,
Catch both.
Yeah, I want to feel things. I want to have, friendships and relationships and love and all. Why
Right.
can't you catch that? Ooh. Why can't you catch both?
That's Crystal's
Like,
fault. She said we had to have the plants close
I
by.
like plants, so that works.
That's right, because you said you have like.
I have 46 plants at home. Yeah.
I have 0.
Okay, you gotta get a plant now.
But why?
Because they're good for you. No, but there is a such thing as plant therapy, for real. Because there is microbes that are released in the soil when you plant them that are actually happy microbes.
But if I let the plant die.
You're not going to let the plant die. You're going to. We'll get you like a low maintenance plant. Get a golden pothos.
A golden pothos.
Yeah. It's air purifying. It's pretty to look at. It's very low maintenance. You can have it in the light, in the dark. You water it like maybe once every 2-3 weeks if you want.
So I'm always here to learn stuff.
Yeah.
And so a golden pothos
Yeah.
is a low maintenance plant.
Listen. I've never killed one of them. I've killed some plants myself, but I've never killed one of them. Like,
Okay.
It's super. My mom has one that is 2021. She got it when I was in college, and it's
wow.
thriving. She'll take care of it. I mean, I
I may dabble into this golden pothos and see. Okay.
You're gonna like it.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna get me a plant. We'll see what that's like.
Yes.
So, in wrapping up here, in the beginning I asked you, who do you think you are? Now I'm gonna ask you, who do you think you will be? That's what I've been waiting for, that
I will. Who do I think I will be? Not what do I think I will do? Because I was about to say I'm going to be the biggest, most impactful person in the community mental health field. What does that look like? I'm going to be a game changer.
Period.
Yeah. On every level. I'm not just limiting myself to, mental health, but I'm going to change the way people see the arts as being therapeutic. I'm going to change artists' mind about going to seek therapy. I'm going to do all of that. I'm going to completely change the game on both ends.
Got you. That's what's up. I may have some work for you, because like at Inspired, obviously with poetry, some of the poetry is heavy, some of it that I may not think is heavy winds up being heavy to certain people, and and they need a release at some point. And so it's been brought to my attention that you should have people there at the shows, or a room or something that people can kind of go to and decompress. And that's why I love talking to people, because I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
I've never struggled with a mental illness. I know people who have. I also don't perform my own poetry, obviously, so I don't have to get as intertwined with my words as some other poets do.
Right.
And so I would have never thought of that, but it makes sense to me
Yeah.
to make sure, as a very influential poet told me, he said, if you're going to put the words out there, you then have to be responsible for them.
Ooh. Boy,
Yeah,
you played something on
he did. And I mean, and this was pretty recent. We were sitting down and we were having conversations about some things, and I was asking him questions about it, like, how do you feel about this? And he was like, yeah, like you can put the words out there, but you have to be responsible for those words once they're there. And so then you have to do everything you can to make sure people are okay.
That just kind of shook me up.
Yeah, so it was definitely an eye-opening moment for me in that. And so just saying that, like, because you're in that field and the arts and you're meshing it all together, it'll make sense for us to,
My favorite world. So.
yeah, to kind of put some stuff together, because as things grow, more and more people are gonna.
That's really cool, and that makes me very happy and proud of you to have even thought that way to incorporate these things. We gotta protect our community.
Yeah.
Like, no one else. That sounds bad. We do have allies, but who's gonna protect us if we don't?
Right.
Like, we have to start getting really conscious about our actions and our words and our brothers and our sisters, and not just glossing over the fact that even me sitting here with you today, I'm happy to be here with you
Right.
today. I'm happy that y'all are in the room.
Right.
I'm happy because you never know what happens when you walk outside the door. Like, stop taking that for granted. We're going to protect each other and level up together. I'm not going to leave you down there, and I hope that you never leave me.
Correct.
Like, let's work together to let's be what we needed when we were growing up. Let's be what our parents needed and what our grandparents needed. We don't have to live a life that's contained. Like I said earlier, with this big, bold life, what are you going to do?
Right.
And how do we do it for each other? It's not just me in this. I'm not alone in this. Like I said, J and B, neither one of them would be J and B without J
And B. Right.
So in anything, and not just saying you have to have a partner.
Right.
But have partnerships.
Yeah.
Jay's still cool with Tata.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
That's who he took with him.
Yeah.
And he didn't leave him behind. You have to protect yours.
Indeed. As Raven said, do not live a life that is contained. That's a bar for you. Appreciate y'all checking out the podcast episode. Make sure you hit the like. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you check out Raven and what she has going on. And we will see you next time.